Please be seated. I now hands the floor to the co-prosecutors to put question to the civil party. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, civil party. My name is Vincent Deville, and I'm going to put a few questions to you for about 15 to 20 minutes on behalf of the co-prosecutors. I don't have that many questions because the questions that I prepared are essentially focused on the place where your brother was killed, because first of all, you said in your civil party applications that you believed that your brother was killed at Chamka-le. Now you specified that it was at S21. So just one question regarding the place where you were during the decay regime, because I couldn't find the answer to that question in the documents. So where were you between 1975 and 1979?
I received a scholarship to study in France because by that time I was already a medical doctor, and I received a scholarship to become a professor, pedagogical professor. So I left Cambodia in 1974. And I have been working in France for almost 30 years as a veterinarian. So I was not in the country, but I constantly following the situation in Cambodia. I also put particular focus on what happens to my other brother, Chao Sein.
You also said that as of 1970, your brother traveled a lot. Apparently he went to Russia, he went to Europe, to Africa. Was he disappointed for not having been able to return to Cambodia, physically speaking, even before December 1975? He was essentially based in China, if I saw. Did he speak to you then about his feelings in relation to the fact that he could not travel to Cambodia back then?
Chao Sein could not return to Cambodia before Samdech Sihanouk. However, he returned not long after the king arrived. He arrived in Cambodia in December 1975.
Your brother was a minister, as you said, under Sihanouk. Then he was a member of the Politburo of the FUNC, of the movement, at the Paris mission. He was a special envoy of Sihanouk abroad before 17 April 1975. And what exactly were his motivations to return to Cambodia? Didn't he believe that there might be a difference between theory, that is, say, being in China with Sihanouk, what he might have learned there, and what was really happening on the field with the Khmer Rouge, and not only ministers from the Grunk and the Funk? Didn't he understand that there would be this difference? And what urged him to return?
The reason for his return is his love for the country. He thought of the country, and he of course joined the resistance which he had known since the 1970s. But nobody could ever imagine that the Khmer Rouge had such a plan. He said goodbye to his wife and children, and of course at that time he called all the relatives and siblings for a feast, and he said that he would return to Cambodia, and he did not want any power or position from the Khmer Rouge, but he would like to come to help the country, and that he would involve in the diplomatic mission. For that reason, he sacrificed his French wife and children behind in order to return to Cambodia to build the country. And that was his honor to return. And he was not afraid of anything, and he did not want to demand for anything for himself. And he was part of a resistance movement long before that, and of course he had to continue that movement.
Alors, je voudrais juste...
Well, I would like to read out only one article from a press article from the French wire service AFP. It's an excerpt of document E3/118. And therefore, this is a FIBIS document, which is entitled Choseng
in Phnom Penh. Ce ne sont pas des pages qui ont été traduites.
These pages have not been translated. I would simply like to read what he said, because apparently in April he seemed quite convinced with the euphoria of the upcoming victory, that he was quite convinced by the Khmer Rouge movement, and this is what he says.
Le 12 avril à Paris.
On April 12th in Paris, and I will quote in English.
Choseng, Special Envoy of Prince Norodom Sihanouk of Cambodia, said here today there would be no bloodbath if the Red Khmers captured Phnom Penh. We shall punish the traitors, he said, the super traitors who are condemned to death, as the Nazis were by the Allies. But we'll practice a policy of broad national union. The others can join, and they will be citizens like everyone else. All Cambodians have their place in the national community. And then further down, he added, Cambodians are a grateful people. They do not forget benefactions accorded to them, but they rarely forget misdeeds they have been subjected to. We shall not forget those who have supported us from the beginning, nor shall we forget those who have done us much harm. End of quote.
In April 1975, therefore, do you believe that he was deceived when he gave, or that he was mistaken when he gave this press conference, when he speaks about the super traders who are already condemned to death, or about the fact of not forgetting who were the allies of the movement and who weren't?
In my opinion, he was not aware of that. If he knew that they deceived him and they betrayed him, he would not have returned. But he did not have any clue about that. he came in good faith since the country needed intellectuals. Because in the Khmer rules, there were very handful intellectuals, and for that reason, hundreds of intellectuals came from France to assist the country. But in reality, they were accused of being traitors and killed, and that's why I want to ask this question to Nunchi and Khieu Sampon.
Before we turn to the confessions, which I'd like you to authenticate, do you know why your brother was removed from Bong Trobek to be sent to S21? You spoke to certain people who knew your brother, Chao Seng, I imagine. You spoke to Yang Sari. Were you able to obtain elements of information that allow you to understand and say why he was removed from Bong Trabek?
Regarding his removal from Bang Trabek, I met Ieng Kun Saki, who used to live with my brother in Bang Trabek. He said that one day a jeep came to pick him up while he was actually picking water lily, and that he was required by Angka, and people at Bang Trabek did not dare to ask where he was going to, although they hoped that he would be sent to work with Ieng Sari at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. During Doge's testimony, he was not fully aware of the whereabouts of Chao Seng, so he was actually brought directly from Bang Trabek to S21, and from what I hear, Doge did not know that Chao Seng was brought directly from Bang Trabek to S21.
Regarding the reasons for the arrest, I'd like to read out what Yang Sari said to Steve Heder. This is in document E3/89. And I note here that I don't have the ERNs available. I'll provide them later, so I apologize. Well, this is what Yang Sari said. Speaking about the people who joined the CIA or who were linked to the Vietnamese. For certain people, I said that they did not join. That was just an invention. That means they did not join the CIA. This wasn't an invention. Like Chao Seng, I said from the beginning that that he should not be killed. He was not a spy, but he was behaving in a rather rowdy way. He spoke about all of this without paying much attention. He was an intellectual from the beginning who returned from abroad, so therefore he was not at all a secret agent of the French. This person was not very well disciplined. He was acting that way even in the days of the Sangkum Rias Neyum. But when he returned, I wanted to help him. He just said, and I quote, "If you asked me to stack up the earth, I said I would bring some tractors from France. And then 15 minutes later, in 15 minutes, it will be done, and it will not be necessary to stack up the earth like that." He was accused of being an opponent to the revolution and of being a secret agent of the French, but I did not believe that. End of quote, free translation. So, was your brother that way? That is to say, he would speak out his mind, generally speaking, and in particular in terms of politics.
In my opinion, that I used to live with him since 1966 when I returned from France. he did not belong to any entity or to be agent for France. And the Khmer Rouge accused him of working along with Sihanouk for the interest and the benefit of the French government, but that was not true. Although he cooperated with the French authority, it was not at the detrimental. It's not detrimental to Cambodia. He was the chief of the cabinet for Samdech Sihanouk, and he had nothing to do with any secret work or a secret agent. They used such a pretext in order to kill him.
Merci.
Thank you. And with the Chamber's leave, I would like to provide to you not the totality, but certain pages of the confessions of Cheng Sun, alias San, at S21. This is document E3/10609. Just for identification purposes.
Court officer, please take the document and hand it to the civil party.
Donc il s'agit.
So these are the first pages of his confessions, pages 1 to 39. So the first page bears number 00246843 as ERN, and it's indicated that the soul named Chen Sun alias Sai, 50 years old, returned to Cambodia on 19 December 1975, and that he was arrested in November 1977. Can you leaf through these pages and tell us if you can recognize his handwriting, and in particular if you could tell us that this is whether or not this is your brother's handwriting?
I obtained this document from DCCAM, and I truly believe that is his document, because I recognize his handwriting, and his handwriting is very much similar to mine. This confession was written by him, and it ran into 200 pages. I read through his confession, and the accusation by the Khmer Rouge was baseless, because it was his determination that the revolution movement had to continue. And as you said, he was a person who spoke freely, and as you raised in the case of using tractors. Sometimes he said that it would be nice to have a cup of coffee after a meal, and that was a kind of thing that caught the attention of the Khmer Rouge, and that he would be accused of being a traitor for such small thing.
You're right when you say that Duke spoke about your brother Chao Seng. He spoke about him in particular on 2 April 2012 before this chamber document E1/57.1, and he said at 11:36 and 49 seconds that day, and I quote, "Before conducting an arrest at Foreign Affairs, it was necessary to obtain Ieng Sari's decision. There was only one single exception, which I spoke about earlier. It was Chao Seng, who was arrested under a false name without Ieng Sari knowing it." A bit later, at 11:44 and 27 seconds, he said, Chao Seng was incriminated in confessions. In August 1977, Son Sen said that Chao Seng should be sent to S21. Therefore, Chao Seng was interrogated, and then a superior decided that he had to be liquidated, and this person was Nguyen Chia. End of quote. And finally, to finish off with the quotes, in the WRI E3/60, Kangek Yu, alias Deutsch, again, said at French page 00195614 to 15, English 00195604 to 05, and I will provide the Khmer ERN later to the chamber, and he said, Son Sen called me to announce to me the imminent arrest of Chao Seng alias San, who was the founder of the Southern Group Pedagogical Institute for the training of teachers, asking me to keep this information secret and to record the detainee under the name of Chen Suan. This happened in August 1977, and 3 days later, I started working with Nguyen Chia, who confirmed the secret nature of the information, telling me that even if someone from the foreign ministry came to ask for information, it would be necessary to answer that let Brother Van ask Brother number 2. So, are these statements by Duke, were they confirmed by elements that you obtained yourself through your brother, relatives of your brother, or it was only Duke's statements that allowed you, as well as the confessions themselves, that allowed you to understand that your brother was detained at S21 corrects interpreter under the name of Chao Suan?
I obtained information from Deutsche testimony. As for those people who used to stay at Bang Trok Bai, they did not know anything at all about his arrest. But through Deutsche testimony, I could find the relevant confession. And I obtained it from DC Cam. So those people who were arrested, they did not dare to ask about where my brother was sent to. They only thought that my brother was sent to work with Ian Sari, and the same thing happens to Wan Pini. And Wan Pini had been arrested before his arrest. However, the date of the arrest is different. Duch said it was on the 8th of August. However, in this document, he was actually arrested in November. So there is a discrepancy in this document and the testimony of Duch. However, the date of the arrest on this document is more accurate.
Thank you. I believe that I've come to the end of my time, so I will stop now, Mr. President.
Thank you, Co-Prosecutor. I now hand the floor first to Judge Labour.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Civil Party. I would like to put a question to you regarding the relations between Chao Seng and the Khmer Rouge leaders, in particular Khieu Samphan. What kind of relationship existed between both of these people? Were they friendly and trusting relations? And do you know if when Chao Seng was in France, he was in touch with Khieu Samphan?
Allow me to respond. Chao Seng and Khieu Samphan were close friends. Chao Seng studied literature and he studied law in the same university. That is why I would seek permission to put the question to Khieu Samphan regarding my brother Chao Seng, because they were two close friends. And when he was a minister during the Sangkum Regime, he helped Khieu Samphan to work at the Commerce Ministry. However, at that time he could not live and work there because of the right-wing group. And for that reason, Khieu Samphan submitted his resignation. So again, allow me to say that Khieu Samphan and my brother were close friends. They studied at the same university. And only in 1958 he went to another university in Sorbonne. And during that period of time, there were only a few Khmer students who studied at any one universities in France.
And when your brother was part of the Grunk, did he ever meet Khieu Samphan, whether it be in France or in Beijing or elsewhere?
Khieu Samphan and him met since they were at Montpellier together. That is during 1947 or 48, and they remained together at the same university until 1958. And I did not know for sure about his contact when he was a minister in charge of the special envoy. However, I believe that he had an opportunity to meet with Khieu Samphan in Beijing.
And do you know if, when he returned to Cambodia, Democratic Kampuchea, therefore in 1975, do you know if he had an opportunity to meet Khieu Samphan?
I am not sure about that. However, usually Khmer Rouge leaders would not allow students or people from overseas to meet them. Probably they refused to recognize them. So I believe that he did not meet with him after 1975. Even Hunam was his close friend as well. And I did not know why he was killed. Maybe he was a part of Hunam's network. Maybe that's what they accuse him of. And maybe only Khieu Samphan who could shed light on that.
And after 1979, did you yourself have an opportunity or to meet or to contact Khieu Samphan? Or did Khieu Samphan try to contact the family of his friend to exchange news, to possibly set up contact? Was there any contact between Khieu Samphan and your family after 1979?
Personally, I did not have any opportunity to meet with Khieu Samphan. However, a friend of mine met with Khieu Samphan and later on conveyed the message to me. It was Tan Kum Sui, and he met him in France, and probably Khieu Samphan could also answer that question.
Je vous remercie, monsieur. Thank you. I have no further questions for you, sir.
President, thank you, Judge. Now the floor is given to the Defense Counsel for Nuon Chea to put questions to the civil party.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Civil Party. I have a few follow-up questions for you. I'm the lawyer for Nuon Chea. Just to be sure, can you confirm that your brother was a special representative of the late King Father for the FANC, the Front Uni National du Kampuchea? And if yes, do you know whether he also was a member of the standing committee of the FANC?
In my opinion, he joined the front because Samdech asked Samdech Pan not to bring my brother from Pongye, and he came to help Samdech. And he was promoted to be the minister in charge of the special mission.
But do you know whether he was in fact a member of the standing committee of the FANC, and whether he was a spokesperson outside of Cambodia before 1975 for the FANC?
He was the minister in charge of special mission. I do not know whether he was a spokesperson for the FANC, but he was definitely with Samdech at that time. There was his names and his photos with Samdech. This is a photo of him with Samdech in Paris. You can, if you would like to have a look at it, I can show it to you. It's a photo of him with Samdech.
Do you know whether he spoke to the international press on the 17th of April 1975 in Paris, proclaiming the big success of the 17th April liberation?
I know, because at that time I was also in France. It was in 1977, I was in France.
No, my question was whether he was the spokesperson on behalf of the FANC in Paris on the 17th of April 75, proclaiming the triumph and or the liberation of Phnom Penh. So I'm talking about 75, April 75.
Yes, definitely. He was the representative of Samdech in Paris. Therefore, he gave the press conference to the international media, and it was him, yeah, who was in charge of that.
And do you know whether a bit before that, in March '75, he also spoke on behalf of the FUNC, discussing the decision to execute the 7 super traitors?
อันนี้ខ្ញុំមិន
I'm not clear about this. I don't know about this issue.
Do you know whether he in March or earlier discussed with international media the setting up of committees in the liberated zones?
ខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងដែរនឹងពួក
I was not aware of this matter. Some of the issues were beyond my knowledge because I was not with him all the time. He went back and forth between Beijing and Paris.
Are you aware of the fact that his arrest and detention was also presumably discussed in 1979 during the trial before the People's Revolutionary Tribunal in Phnom Penh, the trial against Ieng Sary and Pol Pot?
Yes, I learned about it through newspaper.
Do you know that his name appears on a list of important culprits, quote-unquote important culprits, and that is document E3/1993, on English ERN 00064840, Khmer 0079671, French 007953339. He's mentioned as executive member of the front abroad, and that he is listed as number 21 of people belonging to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
I do not understand your question.
Let me ask it differently. Do you know why he was considered an important suspect or an important culprit within S21, apparently?
I do not know.
Did I hear you say earlier that at one point in time, after your brother had returned, he was in the East Zone? Did I hear you say East Zone?
Man.
Yes, that's correct.
And what was it that he was doing in the East Zone? Do you have any first-hand knowledge about that?
Hello. Kang Bopi.
When he was sent to the Suong, he did not do anything. He was educated along with other intellectuals when he was placed at Suong, but he did not stay there for long. He was sent back to Phnom Penh.
How do you know he was in Suong, in the East Zone?
He wrote a letter to his wife. He wrote 2 letters to his wife. He told his wife that Angkar allowed him to write letters to her. And in the letter, he said that he was educated in Suong, and later on he was sent back to Phnom Penh.
Did he mention in his letters the leader of the East Zone and the person who had his headquarters there in Suong, Sao Pim?
He did not mention that. Because the letter was reviewed by Angkar, so he could not write anything he wished to. He did not touch on any other aspects.
But what was his letter reviewed by the authorities in Suong? In other words, by the East Zone authorities?
Yes, that's definitely true. Because the letter was sent via the diplomatic cable. Correction, diplomatic pouch to his wife. He sent two letters.
Why did you say a bit earlier that you thought he might have been a member of, quote-unquote, Hunim's network? Why did you say that?
Because Hunim and he were close friends. Hunim sent a photo to him when Hunim was still in the front, because both of them were very close to each other.
I understand, but you used the word Hunim's network. Why did you use that word network? That word network?
Because the Khmer Rouge usually arrested people based on the networks. For example, Koi Thun's network, Hunim's network, Sao Phim's networks. So they arrested people based on the networks.
Are you saying that your brother was arrested because he was in Hunim's network?
It was the supplementary reason. I do not know clearly about the exact reason behind the arrest. So that aspect was perhaps the supplementary aspect, not the main one, not the main factor.
Did your brother ever mention to you or in his letters what he thought about Vietnam and Vietnam's foreign policy?
He really said about that. He once spoke that the Vietnamese told the Khmer Rouge not to occupy Phnom Penh yet. Waited until the Vietnamese enter Saigon and they would help the Khmer Rouge to take over Phnom Penh. And the Vietnamese praised the Khmer Rouge because the Khmer Rouge could evict people out of Phnom Penh, while the Vietnamese could not do the same like the Khmer Rouge.
Let me move on to another subject. Earlier, I believe I heard you say the name Hor Nam Hong. Who is he?
Hao Nam Hong. At that time, he was an ambassador to Cuba. After the coup in 1970, he joined Samdech. He did not join the Khmer Rouge, but he joined with Samdech. I have his document. He confessed, that they were together at Bang Trabai. Because the office there were places for the gathering up of the embassy staffs. And when Chau Seng were taken out to be killed, he became the chief. He became the chief of the embassy section. And another one, Panyat, the son of Panut, he was the deputy. I did not know whether he cooperated with Won, who were accused by Ieng Sari as an infiltrated agent. I do not know anything else beyond this.
In your interview, I believe it was with DC Chem, and there's only a Khmer version, so there's no English translation. That is D22/289.5, Khmer page 00481-409. You said, and I have the digital quote here for you if you would like my Cambodian colleague to read it back to you, but you said that Hor Nam Hong was in Bong Tebek. That's why we have the case between Sam Reng Zi and Hor Nam Hong on Bong Tebek. Is that what you said to DC Chem? And if yes, what did you mean with it?
Hao Nam Hong confessed by himself. He was not in charge of the whole Bang Trabai. He was simply in charge of the embassy staff section. Reng Zi perhaps mistakenly accused him as a person in charge of the whole Bang Trabai, but in fact, at Bang Trabai there were 3 sections. One section is the embassy staff, students from abroad, and the staff from the former regime. So after the arrest of Chau Seng, he was promoted to be the chief, and Panyat, the sons of Panut, was his deputy. President, Council, your time has run out.
Yes, I know, but the Kusapan team doesn't have any questions, so with your leave, I will use their time. I only have 2 or 3 more minutes anyway. Mr. Civil Party, you yourself obviously we're not in...
សូមអញ្ជើញលោកមេធាវីសូមអញ្ជើញ
President, yes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, you yourself were not in Bong Trebek, but a civil party who testified last week, she was. And let me read to you what she said last Thursday at about 15:51. She says, "When I was at Bong Trebek, Hor Nam Hong was the chief of Bong Trebek office. He was the chief. He divided the assignments among groups. That's what I knew. So he was responsible for dividing the assignments among groups. He was not a prisoner." End of quote. Is that something that you can confirm, what the civil party, maybe you even know her, Madam Ross Chursi, testified to last week?
សូមអញ្ជើញលោកប្រញ្ញា
President, the floor is given to the co-prosecutor.
Je pense que
I think that the defense should also mention that at the time of the interrogation of that civil party, this distinction was not made by the defense between these three different sections and in which other section Ho Nam Hong was located. So I think that it is valid, but in no case can it be considered to concern all of Bong Trebek. Thank you.
I know that the witness of the civil party last week made that distinction. I think it's a very clear distinction. As a matter of fact, Hor Nam Hong himself made that distinction as well. But the question remains the same. I don't really understand the objection. But can you somehow confirm what the civil party testified to and what I read out to you?
I think she was not aware of the structural divisions at Bang Trebek because the whole office was divided into sections, the diplomatic sections, student sections, and I based my statement on the written report by Ho Nam Hong.
I understand that he is, even today, in the newspaper, vehemently denying his position at Bong Trebek. But let me ask you a last question. We have also East German documents from the Stasi indicating that Hor Nam Hong himself agreed that he was a prisoner and a chief. But he also said that in 1979 he was accused of being an accomplice of Ieng Sary. Have you ever heard this, either then or later?
I was not aware of this issue. I only learned later on about the matter with Ieng Sary, but many of the former embassy staff were already killed.
I suppose this is my very last question. Do you know whether Hor Nam Hong had anything to do with the decision to have your brothers sent from Bang Trebek to S21?
ចំនួននេះបាទ
I don't think so because he came later on. Initially my brother was the chief, and after my brother along with the other were taken away, and then he was promoted to be in charge, and Sawon was said to be the infiltrated agent at Bang Trabai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Civil Party. I have no further questions, so, Mr. President.
អរគុណលោក
President, thank you, Council. The floor is now given to the co-prosecutor.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's simply to give you the ERNs that we're missing. The interview of Ing Seri with Steve Header, E3/89. The excerpt that I read was on page 18 and 19 in French, 00332698 through 99. In English, it's on page 19 to 20, ERN 00417617 and in Khmer, pages 24 and 25 at 00062475 through 76. And finally, the procès-verbal of Elias Duke, King Give, E3/60. The excerpt that I read in Khmer is 00195596. Thank you.
President, thank you. Defense Counsel for Khieu Samphan, don't you have any questions? Thank you, President. Our team has no question. President, thank you. Mr. Civil Party, when you answer to the lead co-lawyer for Civil Party, you already raised the question that you wish to put to the accused. Now I would like to know whether you still want to put questions to the accused. Answer. I maintain my stance of sticking to the questions I asked earlier. I want them to answer clearly where my brother Chao Seng were killed and why. Because Duch testified clearly about his killing place. And another question is about the killing of the intellectuals. I want to know why they killed the intellectuals. I want to get clear answers on these questions. I also want to ask Khieu Samphan if Your Honor grant me the permission. Thank you. President, yes, you can put your question to the accused through the chamber. Civil Party. President, yes, you may proceed with your question, Civil Party. Mr. Civil Party. Mr. Khieu Samphan, I would like to ask you a question. President interrupted. Mr. Civil Party, you need to ask the question to the accused through the chamber. Civil Party. Mr. Chao Seng was his close friends. Did he do anything wrong? Did he betray the revolution? And why he was taken away to be killed? That's one question. And another one, whether he ordered the killing of Chao Seng and accused him of being a CIA agent or spy. President, thank you, Mr. Civil Party. The Chamber wishes to inform Mr. Civil Party that up until now, the accused remains exercising his right to remain silent. Therefore, Mr. Civil Party, please be informed. The Chamber would like to thank you for your statements on the harm and suffering inflicted upon you, that you said that you experienced during DK regime related to the crimes committed at S21. Your presence at the chamber is no longer required. Therefore, you may be excused. Lawyer Lim Bun Hua, you are also excused from the chamber. The hearing for today is adjourned, and the hearing tomorrow starts from 9 o'clock. The hearing is about the key documents presentation. Security officers, please take Kyo Sampon and Nunji back to the ECCC detention facility, and please bring them back to the courtroom on Tuesday, 16 August 2016 before 9 o'clock. The court is now adjourned.